are no questions or corrections, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, opportunity for citizens to address the Park and Rec Board. I don't think we have any citizens present other than ourselves. So moving on to the next item on the agenda is a Camp Preview Day spotlight by Mr. Carmichael.
Thank you, Chairman Holmeyer and members of the board. It's great to be here tonight, and I'm going to share a little bit about a kind of new event we started last year called Camp Preview Day. It's scheduled for Saturday, February 7th, so it's coming up very quickly from 9 to noon at Deer Path School in the cafeteria. As a staff, we wanted to find a way where we could sort of connect with parents in the community and give them a little snapshot of what to expect with the upcoming camp season. As most of you know, and having grown up in Lake Forest, summer camps is a really popular program. It's a popular program for kids. It's a great opportunity for parents to be able to find healthy ways for kids to enjoy their summers while giving them some free time as well. So we thought we'd try and get a little head jump on the competition a little bit, trying to get the word out, and also help us in a variety of ways to maximize our dollars. But what is Camp Preview Day? And like I said, it gives parents a sneak peek. What we do is we set up the tables in the cafeteria. Each program manager is in charge of kind of setting up a table to promote their individual camps, and parents can come in and get a chance to not only talk to the staff, to talk to the counselors, pick up information, and kind of do a little shopping about what's best as far as what camp is the best fit for their child as they start planning out the summer season. It also helps us as a staff to budget more efficiently too by trying to get a little snapshot of numbers of registration coming in early on and seeing what camps might need more promoting, marketing, and what camps are doing really well. So we looked at it as a nice advantage for us to continue, and we've gone into this year hopefully to make it even bigger and better. Why do we do the Camp Preview Day? Once again, it's about giving parents a chance to see what's coming up. It's we try and foster our customer service and marketing, and really it's just connecting the staff with the community. That's one of the things we really want to push is getting our staff back in the forefront of seeing the parents, talking to the parents, answering questions, and just show everyone what a great experience being in our camps are, because we really do have the best camps around.
Testing. Now I have to talk really quiet. I'm not used to having a microphone. So that's a Camp Preview Day. Last year's Camp Preview Day did really well for the first time doing it. We had 17 different programs and registrations, and the revenue was close to $20,000 for a 3-hour event. So it certainly exceeded our expectations. We weren't really sure what to expect, but we did really well. We had a total number of discounts of $2,000. So we did give some incentives for parents to come and register early and not only ensure their spot in the program, but also saving a little bit as well. They basically received about 10% discount if they registered that day. These discounts applied to almost all of our camps except for our contractual, kind of our specialty camps where there's a higher, there's more fixed costs involved with that. But but parents can still sign up for those camps to once again ensure their spot in the program. As far as this year, we're going to be streamlining some of the operations. There's things we learned last year, things that went well, and some areas that we can improve upon. So we'll be creating a special registration form for people to use. It'll be stamped, and then they can still get their 10% discount, but they don't have to necessarily register that day. They have to register within that week. So that way they can go home with their stamped registration form, think about what works best, and then go ahead and sign up and get their discount. A lot of them will probably end up signing up that day. I know a couple of my camps, I've got parents that are already saying that they're going to be there bright and early and making sure they get into the program. So it's going to be, I think, another great event, and we're looking forward to seeing this thing grow. So, any questions?
Questions? Excellent, very good, Rob, thanks.
You're welcome.
Next, we have a grant update that Chuck Myers is going to present.
Good evening, Chairman Kohlmeyer and members of the board. Wanted to give you an update on some of the grants that we're currently involved with. A couple of years ago, I came to the park board and did an update, gave you a spreadsheet similar to the one that was in the packet. So you'll see some of those were the same, but I wanted to update where we went with those. And as you know, the city's budgets are always challenging these days. So we're always looking for ways to leverage the money that we do have. So that's kind of why we go after these. They are time consuming for us, and they take a lot to put together. But many of these were partnerships. And that's, you'll see as I go through, there were a couple of them with the Forest Preserve. In those cases, they've done a lot of the work. I just have to prepare a small portion of it. Some of them are bigger for us. So that's where we like to keep our ears open when people have other projects that we can partner with. Makes it a little bit easier to jump in. So the first one I want to talk about is one that was on the old list. It's not on your list though, and I will apologize up front that the chart you have is not in the same order. So you can jump around. It is the same information, but it's ordered a little bit differently. So this is one that we had received through the collaborative, the Lake Forest Collaborative for Environmental Leadership. And it was basically a ravine education type grant with the Illinois Coastal Management Program through the DNR. So we received the grant about a year and a half ago. It did finish up in October. We received the grant. This grant, the collaborative did it. The collaborative is made up of the school district, the college, the city, and Lake Forest Open Lands. So Lake Forest Open Lands actually applied for the grant. So this wasn't in the city's name, but we had a big part in it. It was all on city property. So it was a $160,000 project. So it was split somewhere in the 75, 80,000 is what we received from the state. So that was mainly used to produce brochures for educational purposes. There were also a number of school district talks that teachers did that are on the collaborative. They talked to the kids about ravines and the importance of ravines. They bought a model of a ravine that they could use for this. It was very well received, and they talked to hundreds of students about ravines. We also did a small planting project, which I have a picture of. I'll show you in a moment, but just right next to Seminary Ravine at Forest Park. And we also had a sign made. It's currently in my office until the park is done, and then we're going to put it up. I'll show you what that is as well. So this is the small planting project, about a quarter acre only, but it's right, the ravine is right back here. So trees, number of different plants in the foreground there. This is what the sign will look like. It's a 24 by 36 sign that will go on the south end of Forest Park overlooking the ravine. So a little bit of information about ravines and their importance. And then these are the brochures that were put together. And these are available now. They have some here at City Hall and some over at Municipal Services. You'll actually see this one going out in the dialogue next month. We purchased enough that they could put them in the dialogue, so everyone will get that. The reason there's two, one is designed for people that live right on ravines, one is just for residents of Lake Forest, a little more general. And this one is just a sticker that we had so that you could put it on water bottles and things like that. So a lot of materials came out of that grant. So the second one I want to talk about is another one, older one that at the time I last talked to you, we hadn't received it yet. But this is for the McClory Bike Path. And I'm going to jump ahead just to, I don't know if you can see it well, but this is Woodland. The bridge is just to the north. This is Illinois down here. And then the bridge to the south. The parking lot of the train station is currently where bikes go right through the parking lot, and it's a dangerous situation if cars back up. You know, they're sharing the space with bikers, and it's a major spot in our McClory bike path. So the idea is to put a designated lane just to the west of the parking lot. So bikes will now be able to travel outside of the parking area. So the grant was would allow us to do not only the new path, but a lot of landscaping as well. So this was a CMAP grant. This was also something that is part of our bike plan for the city that was adopted a couple of years ago. They identified this as one of the major safety issues. So this was something that we were very happy to get. It addresses an issue that we've heard about for years. So it was awarded last year in 2014. Construction will begin soon on that. They've actually moved the poles, some utility poles downtown to make way for this. You'll see construction as the weather breaks this spring in March and April. They'll be doing that. At the same time, they're redoing the parking lot at the train station. That's not part of the grant, but we're doing it together. So that is a $955,000 project grant. So that was a significant one. This one is being managed now by our engineering staff, but it does have a big impact on our bike path, so I thought I'd bring this one to you. So the next one is, the grant itself is called Improving Habitat and Access to the North Branch Chicago River. This is one of them that I worked with the Forest Preserve on. We actually have a very small part in this one. So it's a National Fish and Wildlife grant in the Middle Fork area over on the west side of the city near municipal services. It will impact the Ellowa area and Meadowood Park. And for us, it's basically invasive control, buckthorn control, removal of buckthorn. We're doing some of that by down at Roof Ray right now. We're taking buckthorn out. That's our part in the match. So we have to perform labor for this one. We're not actually putting out any cash. We'll do $5,000 worth of work. In turn, we will be getting restoration money. So a contractor will come in to the Ellowa farm area, which I think this isn't going to show up very well. Sorry about that. Up in the north here, where Rob is from, where Wildlife Discovery Center is. Behind that, there are some natural areas that are pretty nice in some areas. On the other side of the creek is the Forest Preserve. We're trying to enhance that because some of the areas are kind of weedy. So we want to control the weeds and bring in more native plants. So kind of a small project. The city's portion is it's only a $10,000 project. We'd be getting $5,000 in grant funds for that, and that was approved. It was awarded last year. The details haven't been worked out yet. They're still making the agreements between the city and the Forest Preserve and the National Fish and Wildlife. So I don't have a date on when that'll start. We have started doing some of our clearing already. Our forestry section has already been working on it for a couple days. So not a huge amount of work for us to get done, and in return we get a little bit of other work that we'll benefit from. The next one is called Reconnecting Urban Forest, and this is the oak woodland restoration near Lake Michigan. This is one that you did see on the sheet the last time I was here, and it's basically a tree planting one or reforestation, 75 oaks, down in the southeast corner of the city by the Fort Sheridan project. This again is one that we partner with the Forest Preserve. They took the lead on it. They're actually looking to plant trees in the old golf course area, Fort Sheridan Golf Course, that big opening. They're planting trees there. We just tagged onto that. We'll be planting trees across the street to the west in that natural area. I do have a map, but I think it's going to look like the other one. Yeah, a little bit. In this strip, this would be Sheridan Road. This is Fort Sheridan. This is the parade route down, if you're familiar with Fort Sheridan area. So right across the street in blue is our area, and then this is the Forest Preserve. They actually applied for this one a few years ago, and it was rejected, so they redid it and applied last year again, and it was approved this time, so we are getting this funding. We're looking at planting possibly this fall. The Forest Preserve is having some delays because of some difficulties with where their trees are going at the golf course. They're working out the details still. So when they do theirs, we'll probably do ours as well. It'll all be contract planting. So that overall, the project is $276,000. That's mostly forest preserve. Again, this is a small one for the city. We get $10,000 worth of trees, and we have to put up money on that one. That one is coming out of our capital fund for tree replacement, which Peter Gordon will be talking about a little bit tonight in his presentation. But you'll remember the big categories. We always have tree planting in there, so we're leveraging some of that money to get these trees. And they're all oaks in this one. Obviously, it's a native area. We want to go with oaks and things like that. And the next one is called the Lake Michigan Watershed Early Detection Strike Team. And the idea behind this grant is to catch invasive plants before they get established. So again, worked with Forest Preserve on this one. It's a very large grant. It's a $397,000 grant with lots and lots of partners. There are 15 partners in this, running from Wisconsin down to almost into Cook County, many different agencies involved, and the idea is they will be hiring a contractor to go kill invasive weeds. In our property, it would be at Forest Park, things like goutweed or teasel. They want to control the populations before they become a big problem. So it's designed to hit some of the more exotic things that are newcomers on the scene as far as invasives go, because it's viewed that if we can get them early, we're going to save a lot of money in the long run. So they're going to organize all this. All I have to do is tell them where we have it. They send their contractor out, and they go kill it for us. We don't have to do a lot of paperwork with it. And basically, our match portion, a lot of it has to do with the administrative function that we'll have. So we have to map it out and things like that, but we won't be putting any cash out for this one. So it's in-kind services.
Chuck, what are they using to kill the weeds?
Pesticides in most cases. I would say almost always. There are some projects that are removal of buckthorn, so you cut it and then you still treat it, otherwise it comes back. So they're using different chemicals. The Forest Preserve, very familiar with using chemicals on plants. So they're going to assure that they're using the right chemical in minimal ways. They're very concerned always about overspray and things like that, so they use it very sparingly just to kill the plant. So this, you can kind of see the red line here. This is the entire coast. You can't see Lake Michigan here, but this is the Wisconsin line, so it does go up into here. I believe Parkside or Carthage, one of the colleges is involved with this. Right on down through here, we're in here somewhere, but down into, down south of here even. So a pretty big project. Next one is related to ravines. The next two are actually ravine related. The last time I was here, I mentioned a grant opportunity for this same project. We didn't get it, so we went out for another grant. This is actually the Illinois Coastal Management Program. It's the same one that we received a couple of years ago through the collaborative. So they just added a new category of restoration, plant ravine restoration. So we thought we would take the opportunity to try to get this one. It is smaller by nature, and the ravine restoration is very expensive. We decided that we would try to get a portion of one of our ravines done at the cemetery. The cemetery has been working on the engineering and the plans and the documents for the last year or so to do this anyway. So when this grant came up, we had essentially a shovel-ready project. So there's a whole lot more to this one. I don't want to take up too much time on it, but it's an opportunity for us to leverage some of the cemetery funds. So we're basically looking at a 50-50 match. So we'll be getting $80,000 and we'll be spending $85,000 for this. And I have a map that I think you'll see that one. But so it is restoration of the ravine. That means they're taking out invasive woody stuff. And the idea with that is to get more light. You don't want the exotic things there anyway. It'll provide more light, which will allow the herbaceous or the understory plants to grow. So the other part of this grant is replanting with, you know, a lot of native plants. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing out there. This is current. This isn't the ravine that we're looking at. This is one of them. This is actually the gatehouse at the cemetery. Just this was done, I don't know when, probably 5-6 years ago. So this one is north of there. So this is a cemetery area. Right here is what we've done the engineering for. This is the North Ravine. Actually, up in here would be Lake Bluff. So we're looking at, with this grant, trying to get this one restored. This one, and that will be, the cost of this project to restore it is about $165,000. So we would get it done for $80 if we get this grant. This side will be considerably more, but we've come up with a timeline to do this in the next few years, so we would probably apply for another grant for that section. So the last one on here is the Fort Sheridan Ravine and Coastal Restoration. This is actually not technically a grant. It's a program through the Army Corps of Engineers. They call it, it's a Section 506 Great Lakes Fishery and Ecosystem Restoration Grant. They call them GLIFR for short. So this will involve the entire Fort Sheridan area with a number of different ravines, starting at the north with McCormick, which the city owns. Janes is just to the south. So that's the part I'm going to talk about, but there are other ravines involved as well. So again, this one, I should say that McCormick is considered one of the highest quality ravines on the North Shore. This is one of the prized ravines. Even to Forest Preserve and other agencies, they look at this one as a very important ecosystem. So there are a number of problems down there, though. I'll show you some pictures of some of the old concrete, things that are still left behind from days past that need to go out to make this a functional ravine again. So water would be able to flow in and out. In the end, you saw in the name, the fisheries, there is an emphasis on bringing fish back in so that they can use it like they traditionally would have used it. So that's not the major part of the grant, but that's one of the benefits of doing this. The grant involves removal of concrete structures, but it also involves taking care of erosional problems, seeding, removal of buckthorn and invasives, things like that. So it's a full-blown restoration, and this is a big one. So this one's going to cost a lot of money. This one has been in the works for over 6 years now. They've been putting together a plan for this, the Army Corps has, and it's gone through a long, long process, and we've been working on it for quite a while as well. So this is a partnership between the Lake County Forest Preserves, the Open Lands, City of Lake Forest, and the Lake Forest Open Lands, two different agencies there. So there were other partners that dropped out of it over the years for various different reasons. The total project is $15 million for all the restoration. The city's portion is $3.6 million, and that would be broken up with the grant. I call it a grant here, but through the program, we would be getting $2.3 million, and the city would have to come up with $844,000. Still a fair amount, but it's taken a long time to get it to that point. This was just presented to City Council just before the holidays, so they're just being made aware of it. They have not approved it. We're not going forward or anything, but this is something that is before them and will be considered in the near future. This is just the breakdown. I won't go through it in any detail, but these are the ravines to the south. You can see McCormick. Here's the 2.7. The reason that's not the same as the 3.6 that I just mentioned, part of this shoreline work is ours as well. It's just broke down that way. And then this map just shows, this would be McCormick to the north. This isn't oriented with north to the top. Obviously, here's the north arrow. But here is McCormick. This is Janes flowing into it. So this entire site is the project area. And this is what I was talking about. This is the old tiles that were there, very large tiles. This is the old concrete structures that were, they're defunct now, but more tiles. So this all has to come out to, and that's a big part of the cost. It takes a lot. It's hard to get at this area. They have to break it down and move it out. So there is a lot of brush as well, and there's goutweed in this picture, but some of the plants that would be dealt with are buckthorn, goutweed, garlic mustard, things like that. And it would come with, sorry about that, it would come with 5 years of maintenance as well. So they would do the clearing, they would do the work to restore the ravine, and then they have a 5-year follow-up. So obviously this is a pretty big deal. This is not something, it's a lot of money involved. It's going to require a lot of coordination if it is approved. So if it is approved, here's the timeline. And believe me, there's a lot before this. I just went to December, but December was the close of the public review period. They're answering questions right now, and this is being done through the Chicago office of the Army Corps. So the final approval is also going on. That's part of the comment period. And then the partner agreements are in February. They'll be drafting those. That's when the city will have to decide if they want to be part of this project. And then the project will go out to bid in the summer of 2015. Construction would start September 2015 as well. So it'll go on with or without us, most likely. The Forest Preserve has a huge stake in this. So they've already agreed to it. They've approved it with their board. They're going to go forward. They're hoping we partner as well. So I know that was a lot, but do you have any questions?
What happens if we don't go ahead and partner?
Well, it'll be interesting because the Forest Preserve will have to eat more of the cost. They won't do McCormick at all. They can still do it without us. They would really like us to be part of it. So would Open Lands and everyone else, but it would still go on. They would just have to eat more of the plan costs and the construction documents, all that kind of stuff.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Thank you,
All
Chuck.
right, thank you.
Next agenda item is an update on the ash borer tree and stump removals. Peter Gordon, the city forester. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Colmeyer, members of the Park Board. I'm here tonight to speak to you in regard to accelerating our emerald ash borer removal program, as well as our annual tree planting and purchasing program. I'm going to begin with our acceleration of our emerald ash borer program. I appreciate your patience this afternoon. You guys received a new updated memo from us. One of the reasons that we tweaked that a little is we were seeking a little bit of legal counsel before we went ahead and submitted that to you, and I'm happy to say the information you have is certainly correct and following the city's guidelines and ordinances. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into the acceleration of the emerald ash borer program. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on emerald ash borer itself. I know we've talked about that over the over the course of several years, but certainly if you have any questions in regards to our program, I'd certainly be happy to discuss that with you. So many of you have seen the city's 5-year capital expenditure budget, and that's what we have as our original plan you can see up top. That was a plan that was projected over the next 5 years to spend approximately $1.4 million. The city is looking to accelerate their program for 2 reasons. One is because we feel that we can save a significant amount of money, as well as go ahead and abate the nuisances associated with emerald ash borer. You may have noticed through driving around the community, there's several green tags on the ash trees. That's a result of the city tagging over 1,900 city trees. And as a result, we've been able to certainly make a big dent in that. We've taken over $200,000 in contractual tree removal and applied that to those 1,900 trees. We still have a fair number of trees to do. And so if you look at the budget from the original plan and the accelerated plan, what we're requesting approval from you tonight is to go ahead and allow the city's forestry staff to kind of accelerate the program by bringing $160,000 into FY15, which is this current year's budget, ultimately bringing that total capital expenditure up to about $360,000. What that does is it allows us to contract out an additional 725 trees. It puts the city staff kind of behind the 8 ball, if you will. We will also have to do about 540 trees ourselves. And I mentioned to you the savings that is detailed in this plan here. It's certainly not a magic trick. It's not a sleight of hands. What it is it's a commitment. It's a commitment from the city to do more trees in-house over the next 2 years, in FY16 and FY17. And so our savings is really not going out for contractual costs. Our savings is actually having in-house staff do it. We certainly have the equipment. We have the talent to do it. We have the commitment from certainly the city manager, from the director of the park board, as well, to go ahead and focus on these trees in-house. What that does is it obviously frees up money for the capital program to be used elsewhere. You'll also notice that we have and show a savings in our treatment costs over the next couple years, and that is really twofold. One is we were treating approximately 650 trees over the course of the years to mitigate the ultimate loss of ash trees. I can tell you that the program's been a great success. We've really been able to save almost 650 trees that we began treatment on, but we also realize that we need to wean ourselves off this program. This is a commitment forever, and we certainly don't want to have that looming over the park board or over city council in increments of $60,000 every 2 years. So it's our goal either to absorb some of these trees into our operating expense or to go ahead and partner up with the residents to offer them municipal pricing for the treatment of their trees. So we are still committed over the next couple of years to do those treatments. Treatments are for 2 years, but we realize that this certainly isn't a sustainable thing for us to continue chemical treatment in perpetuity to the life of these ash. So that is an additional savings. So collectively, you're going to see in this budget here a savings of approximately $180,000. But more importantly, what we're going to do and what we're going to be able to offer the residents is certainly a safer community by abating these 725 trees contractually. And next week, we'll be making a big push internally to remove an additional 540 trees. So what we're looking for from you tonight is certainly any questions you have about our accelerated program. It's really kind of a hopscotching of funds, as you'll notice when you look at the budget. But as a result, we're committed to taking more trees down in-house, and we feel ultimately it's going to provide for a safer environment for our residents.
Any questions? Or-
So is the savings 2 parts then? It's doing more in-house and then weaning yourselves off of the treatment plan?
It is. Yep.
And if you're doing more trees in-house or taking on that, what are you not doing? I mean, is there a quid
Well,
pro quo
that's
to
a great
that?
question. And certainly, 3 or 4 years ago, I would have told you a different story. But the fact of the matter is we've been spending a lot of time doing ash removal over the last 3 or 4 years. We haven't lost track of the diseased elms. And so we spent a lot of time doing that. Our crews now have been in and out of Forest Park doing a little bluff removal. That's something that we've been doing for the last 6 years, and a lot of these different ravines that Chuck mentioned. And so really our primary focus is always been on removals and trimming. So to really answer that in a roundabout way, nothing's going to change outside of the fact that we may do less tree trimming and maintenance, but certainly the removals are our strong point.
Long-term, though, the crew size you have will be what you need long-term and not just for the next couple of years. Is that correct?
Our current crew size? Like anyone else, we could always use more people, but we work with what we have. We are lucky enough to have some of the best equipment in the industry, and certainly that keeps our costs down and certainly improves our efficiencies. So I would say based on not only our crew size, but the commitment from our Public Works Department and sharing staff to get these trees down will certainly allow us to do that.
Okay. Could I have a motion to?
I have a question.
I'm
Charlie.
sorry.
Peter, with the last update that was sent out, the first one indicated there's some issues with clean cut, that they didn't meet their contractual obligation. And then on the update, that's not there. Is that, can you explain on that?
I can. In the spring, when they were our low bidder, they pretty much overbooked themselves, and they really couldn't keep up with the city's demands to get the trees down in the time frame that we wanted to. That was one of the reasons that several years ago, our Public Lands Committee suggested that we go to 3 contractors. Because of the sheer volume of trees not only the city has, but some of their other contract obligations as well as residential contract obligations, they just couldn't keep up with what we were looking for. So we have kind of tabled some of their work. We feel that they're still a reputable company, but dividing out a lot of this work over either 1 or 2 companies certainly puts us in a much better position.
And them being the low bidder now, are they gonna get them a lion's share of the trees? And if they are they gonna be able to?
They're probably not going to get the lion's share of the trees, again, only because of certain commitment levels. And if you look at the pricing structure, it's based on tree diameter. And so they will certainly get a portion of that if they're willing to commit to our timeframes. Keep in mind that the approval that you guys give us tonight, if you so deem to be the case, only allows us about 2 months or less to get it done by April 30th, which is the end of our fiscal year. So we're really going to kind of hit it hard, see where guys are really committed to spending their time in Lake Forest. And if they are, they're absolutely going to be one of our bidders.
I guess the bottom line question is are you comfortable with those companies?
I'm comfortable with the companies. I don't know if I'm as comfortable with what they have on their docket and their contracts right now. And we'll be able to iron that out once we figure that out. I can tell you, with that said, we've been nothing but pleased with Canucken. They've met all of our time obligations, and certainly you'll see as we come forward in the next 2 months for our FY16 contract, they were our low bidder, and so they have really meet and beat our expectations.
So our approval tonight is just for you guys to go ahead and start with these companies?
Your approval tonight is to allow us to accelerate the program by issuing us the $160,000 as we requested. Keep in mind the contracts have already been signed and approved by the Park Board and the City Council last year, and so we will go ahead and farm those trees out accordingly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? May I have a motion to approve the authorization of the additional $160,000 for EAB eradication program?
I'll move to approve to accelerate funding of the Emerald Ash Borer program and approval of contracts for additional fiscal year 15 ash tree and stump removals.
Second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Thank you.
Peter. Peter's also on the agenda to talk about annual tree planting and purchasing, which is the next item on the agenda.
I am, and this is really for informational purposes only. So we wanted to go ahead and just touch base with you in regards to our tree purchasing and planting program. Last year, we are in the process of spending and finishing up spending about $160,000 for our annual tree planting and purchasing program. Keep in mind, $60,000 of that was carried over from the previous fiscal year because we couldn't get into a lot of nurseries. You may remember how horrible the winter was, so we carried that money over. And so basically this year, we have seen a reduction in our budget from the 160, which was really 100, to $60,000. Now, what that does for us is it minimizes the amount of trees we can get out into the public, which reduces our costs from a contractual standpoint in the purchasing and planting. And so neither one of those with a single vendor will go over $20,000. So that's when we go out to bid for that. We do go ahead and seek approval internally to go ahead and spend money when we reach a point over $5,000 to get multiple prices. That's what we've provided you, are those multiple prices there. And we think that, again, we'll have a successful program. This year, we've gone ahead and got prices on over 46 different varieties of trees. So in the advent of another bug, we've really diversified ourselves as far as tree species go. And we did that through municipal partnering with Highland Park and the Highland Park Park District. So we've leveraged kind of volume buying by using those two organizations.
Questions or comments? Thank you, Peter. Comments by the interim director, Sally?
Sure. I have a few. I'm here to give you a bit of an update on the happenings and the offerings going on over at the Recreation Center for the month of February and early into March. So we'd like to remind people that there's still time to sign up for the January Fitness Center promotion, which is get 3 months free with an annual membership if you sign up before the end of the month, so before January 31st. On February 7th, as you heard Rob earlier state, we have Camp Preview Day, but we also have 2 Valentine workshops going on, Cupid's Valentine as well as Healthy Hearts. Those are taking place at our Everett classroom. On February 15th, you can sign up to receive the lowest rates on membership at Deer Path Golf Course. And on February 16th, the Sterling Hall Art Center is pleased to announce that they will be offering many new classes beginning in February. They are 5-week classes, which will give students a chance to sample what Sterling Hall has to offer without the time commitment of our full 10-week session. So please join us for Introduction to Reel Throwing, Dinner for Two, the Ceramic Surface, Family Ceramics, and the Garden and Beyond this February. If you would like further information, it can be found in the winter or spring brochure or online at lfrec.com. As we move through February, we will be Seuss-abrating on the 21st in the Everett classroom, which is a celebration of Dr. Seuss and his stories. And then in March, we start to hit our basketball competitions. We're hosting a March Madness weekend celebration. March 6th will be a 2-ball competition, and March 7th will be a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And on March 8th, the ever-popular Reptile Rampage, sponsored by the Wildlife Discovery Center, will take place at the Recreation Center gym. And that's my update for this month.
Thank you. Any comments by board members? I have one. Is there a golf course brochure for new memberships going out?
No, we haven't done a brochure for a couple of years. We send out the postcards that goes out to Lake Forest residents.
And those will go out when?
I asked for an update this afternoon because my understanding was that it was supposed to have gone to the post office late last week, but I haven't got that update yet.
So you're not sending out the registration forms? That was went out last year.
Oh, you did. I did it last year.
Yeah.
I got one.
It's a brochure that had all you can sign up for the foursomes, and that went out last year. That's
No, I'll have to check with Rick, but we haven't done that brochure where it tells you all about the individual, like you were saying, the permanent tee times, the driving range, the classes. We haven't done that since.
So it's only available online then?
2012, yes. I'm not sure if Rick is going to be. I'm sure he will be. If not, we'll make sure that it's done. That all past members receive an email with the.
Yeah, I think the problem is there are still some dinosaurs out there that don't have email. I've asked a couple of the people that I play with, and they hadn't gotten anything in the mail yet, and they don't have email.
that needs to go out because the deadline to get there early.
It's February 15th.
The deadline on the early bird is what, February 16th?
15th.
15th. So, you'll follow up with that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Last year.
I know. How about a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.